You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to Barbell Logic. I'm your host, Nikki Sims. This is the Beast Over Burden Barbell Logic episode with me and Andrew Jackson. Hello, Andrew.
Good morning.
Good morning. Any exciting updates you need to share with your fan club?
No.
Just continuing to crush it over there. Just being a big, strong man.
I hit a PR yesterday, but nothing exciting.
There it is.
336, 5x5 bench PR. Nothing too exciting, but...
Okay, well, I think it's exciting. Good job.
Progress.
Love it.
3 hours of deep sleep last night.
Yes, that has been so magical.
That feels like a PR.
Sleep is so good. It's so wonderful. That is the biggest factor in so many things. Yeah. Everything's harder when we're not sleeping. I'm excited to sleep tonight, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it already.
Well, things have been very busy at the Barbell Logic headquarters, which is all across the country, actually. But yeah, we just got off of a really fun Mission Control meeting. Mission Control is me, Andrew, Josh, and Matt talking about a lot of big things for the rest of the year. And I'm pretty excited about it all. So it made me even more affirmed on our mission, which I'm pretty excited about. And it had me thinking about, when we speak to people at the very kind of beginning of their strength journey, which maybe they haven't even found us yet. Maybe it's 6 months before they hear about us. But conversations that I've had with friends or people who I see in the gym, and I just know that their lifespan in the gym of being productive is like 6-8 weeks. And I think that it's that early on when something needs to change and someone may not know what it is. And that's where things start to need to get different and they don't know what to do, or some other consideration that I want to hear your thoughts on. But there's a very early starting block, in my opinion, and it's around the 6-week mark. And I'm curious what that is.
This is somebody who's working with us, or somebody who would describe this person a little bit more for me.
I don't think this person is working for us. I see them as someone who has started working out many times, and then they've stopped working out many times. And I see them as going to their local Globo gym, doing a workout, getting really sore, getting it into their routine 2 or 3 times a week, and then it doesn't stay in their routine. Or they have a history of, getting hurt, stopping for a long time, starting again, maybe getting hurt again. I'm thinking of like a CrossFit on and offer. But I think when someone works with us for that amount of time, they keep working with us because we can really guide them. But I think when someone's not working with us and they're doing like maybe machine exercises, or they're just getting started on barbell exercises and they don't know how to get past the first 6 weeks, like there's something in that early time where gets real and things need to change.
Yeah, I think 6 to 8 weeks is an amount of time where the average person going into the gym following some version of a workout strategy program has been able to increase the stress for a long enough period of time that it's probably gotten heavy enough or hard enough that they're starting to miss reps, or they're not able to recover. So the performance might even be going down, or at least plateaued, where the super newbie gains, if they are even gains, have basically stopped. And yet it's not long enough to have seen any kind of a meaningful change in their body, other than maybe they've seen a little bit of weight go up on the bar, or the number of reps have gone up. But it's sort of this murky area where they're having a harder time recovering, or they're having a harder time adding more stress, which has been their indication of progress up until that point.
Which another way to say that is they've been adding more weight to whatever they're doing.
More weight, more reps, more distance, maybe if they're running, or, more time, whatever the metric is that they're trying to see improve, starts to plateau, probably because they don't know how to manage their stress or their recovery in a way where progress continues. And so the return on that invested effort doesn't seem worthwhile anymore because, again, at 8 weeks, you probably haven't done something long enough or effectively enough to actually see noticeable change. And then it just becomes well, why am I doing this? You stop being able to see the path from where you are to where you want to be happening in any kind of a reasonable amount of time. So you just give up because it doesn't seem worthwhile. I'm not just speaking for somebody I imagine. That's what happens for me. If I do something for 6 to 8 weeks and I see a little bit of traction, but then it stops working, it's hard to stay motivated to keep doing something if it doesn't seem like it's working.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of those times too that I've experienced where you were able to try a lot of things at once and all those things were working, or a couple of things were working, but you don't know which one it was. But then you get to that point where not all of it is working like it was just before, and you don't know what to do next. Like, what is the thing now that will keep this working? And it could be a slew of things. It could be just one certain thing. Like for someone who's never had a coach look at their barbell training. Like let's say they teach themselves to squat, bench press, deadlift press, and they do that for 6 weeks. That's enough time for them to just put 5 pounds on and maybe not have any real check on their form. So they get to a point where stuff's starting to kind of fall apart a little bit. It actually hurts. They can't complete the reps anymore. And the variable that would probably make a huge impact for them is have a coach look at your form. Like maybe you just need to change how you're performing the lifts, and that will be enough to keep you moving forward.
It's impossible to know or say as a blanket statement what the thing is after 6 to 8 weeks. And that's why personalized professional coaching is so useful or has so much value, because a good professional coach can diagnose pretty quickly which part of the stress or recovery needs to be adjusted and do that really quickly. So again, the individual gets to see, I do X and I get Y outcome, and keep moving forward, keep being motivated, and be able to see again, it sort of clears the fog and gets people unstuck and moving forward towards their goal again.
Yeah. Where they can actually start making meaningful change, which is why they started out in the first place.
Yeah. And I would even back it up there to say, make meaningful or take meaningful action. Because the problem isn't that they're not changing. They probably are actually changing, even if they're plateaued. But if you don't stay motivated enough to continue, then the change won't happen. You have to have faith. A lot of it does come back to a little bit of faith in the process or trust in the process to continue applying yourself in a meaningful way, which is difficult to do if you don't believe in your program, which I think is one of the biggest variables that determines whether or not a program will work. Because we know that the work has to be hard, you can't just show up and kind of do the program. You have to show up and really throw yourself into the program and work hard in order to get the change.
Yeah. That also sounds like a time when people would turn to a group fitness class. Like they're going to go to CrossFit. They're going to find a local barbell coach with a group training approach, or they're going to go to Orange Theory. They're going to do something where someone else is telling them what to do. And that's maybe enough for them to start trusting the process again. But even in that realm, when it's not personal and professionalized, I see the end already.
Yeah, I think that buys time,
right,
by outsourcing meaning to being part of the group. And so you join in on this tribe, this shared set of values to work hard, which does have some utility. Every team I've been part of that I've wanted to work hard to be part of, to include times when I did CrossFit, or whether I was on the wrestling team or the crew team or whatever sports team, that is a motivator. The social pressure, the social dynamic, the wanting to be included, wanting to compete, that I think can provide that meaningful action for a period of time. And it can get you some pretty powerful results in a relatively short period of time, for depending on how hard you go into it and how much of a priority you place on that. part of the community, that can drive adaptation and progress for a really long time if you, along the way, figure out how to manage the recovery.
Yeah.
I think that's often where I see the problem, is that it becomes a little bit of a survival of the fittest.
Yeah, totally.
On whether you can figure out how to either not get hurt or manage your nutrition or your sleep, or not become the crazy CrossFitter that does it 7 times a week.
Right.
Or you just like fall out of the team sport, if that's what it was.
That's such a factor that I don't think most people consider when they get back onto their training routine, when they get back to the gym, air quotes, is, well, I'm working out more than I was before. So their recovery bucket was too high before they started training. They were detrained, over-recovered, and then they start training again, and maybe they're really enjoying it, and they start training a lot. So they don't really...
Well, more is better, right?
More is better, and that's what the business who you're going to is going to tell you, because they want to get more of your time and money. So you're going to believe that more is better, but they don't have that concept of, well, how do I be intelligent about my recovery? What reassurance or guidance would you give to someone, or even how would you guide someone in letting them know that that may be what their issue is? They're not being intelligent with their recovery.
Some of it would be objective. I would ask them whether they're progressing towards their goal. I mean, if somebody is making progress, maybe it's working for them. Some people can recover from way more than others. And so I would start there. But if you're not making progress and you do more and you're still not making progress, or often you'll see somebody actually backpedal or backtrack. They'll make less progress. Other pieces of it could be objective measures, but outside the gym. How well are you sleeping? How much fatigue do you have day to day? How much soreness are you carrying around day to day? And then others would be subjective. What's your mood and energy level like throughout the week? Because if you're just constantly exhausted, sore, grumpy, and not making progress, probably a pretty good sign that you might need to either prioritize recovery or reduce the stress.
Like, can you see yourself living like this for another 3 years? And if the answer is no, or heck, even another 6 months, if the answer is no, I think there's something off with their recovery, or the balance at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't get excited about doing this for a really long time, it's not even worth it for the next 2 months.
I mean, unless you're David Goggins, stay hard.
Stay hard, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a fine line to walk there. But again, I go back to, if you're bought into the program, if somebody comes back and says, yeah, I want to be in this state for the next 3-6 years, okay, have at it, But most people aren't asking that question unless they're feeling like they're not making progress. They're looking for somebody to help them make a different decision.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing that's pretty much always happening around that time is they have made nutrition changes that equate to a caloric deficit.
Usually significant, yeah.
When that is usually not what they need to be making at that point, because that probably also means less protein maybe than they were eating before.
Yeah, I definitely see that as a common theme, especially around this time of year or the beginning of the year. We're entering the beach season, and people are going to start their crash diet, ultra shred push to try to get ready to get the swimsuits on for the next month or two before the holidays kick back up.
Yeah.
And so that usually a lot of people will sign up for doing some kind of crazy elimination diet, or
like, oh, I don't need to eat carbs anymore. I don't need carbs in my diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why are all my lifts suffering? Gee, I don't know.
Yeah, you had an interesting experience with that recently.
Yeah. One of my clients looking to make some body composition changes, we talked through some options. And then I found out that none of those options were an option that was employed. And in fact, it was massively reducing carbohydrate intake.
Like, how extreme are we talking about here?
Less than 50 grams a day, fewer than 50 grams a day, if that. And also at the same time wanting to ramp up in everything. So we're seeing it in his training now. And it's tough to see that because I know he really cares about it. And so we're going to have to really change what I can ask, what we can expect of his body, because it wasn't what we can expect before. Now it's something different.
Right.
And if that's the priority, to lose weight by reducing carbohydrate intake, then I don't want to force him to suffer in his training. I need to adjust the training so that he can recover from it. Those are my bumper lines is, can you recover from this and get what you want? And then we keep learning from that.
That's a good way to put it. Keep learning from it, because you can provide perspective and expertise and recommendations. And then ultimately it's the individual's choice of what they're going to do. And you got to adapt to that as best you can.
Yeah.
Along with trying to encourage them to be able to accept the impact of the choice that they are making.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are trade-offs. There are no solutions, only trade-offs.
Yeah. Lots of trade-offs there. And it's almost an all-in mentality, but it's putting everything into too many things. And I guess that's where the trade-off is coming up. But yeah, I think that's something that you see is like you've been operating under increased energy output, and then you start making changes that decrease your energy input. And you can get away with that for a certain amount of time based on how much extra body fat you have. And then you stop getting away from it. That's what I think. Yeah.
Maybe it's right around that 6 to 8 week mark of starving yourself while working out more.
Yeah. And especially if you lose the carb, because that is your, like, you need carbs right now when you're training. You need it right now. Like, you will burn through, your 20 carbs or whatever by the time you finish loading the bar for your squat work set. Then it's the question of, okay, well, how do we keep you moving so that you can recover from it? Because if you can't recover from it, you are going to get hurt. And then that's the end. And I don't want that. Like, I want someone to keep moving.
People are killing themselves.
But I just don't think they see it that way. Like, you're so invested in seeing the weight on the bar go up, like you've spoken about, is like, this is everything. Like, this is my only North Star, the only metric that should matter, because this is my identity. If I can add 5 pounds, it means I am stronger. And when you can't do that anymore, or when you have the hard learning, because it's not just like an instant acceptance, it is hard to learn that, especially if you've been invested in that identity for a long time, and you'll hurt yourself to do it. It could be one acute injury, or it could be a long series of just beating yourself up. And then you spend, I don't know, a year digging out of the hole, when it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's what I mean by the end, is like, it's a different trajectory that you actually don't want.
Right. Which is a different version of being stuck or plateauing.
Yeah.
You're mismanaging the stress and the recovery, probably prematurely. I mean, that's a pretty common story for the kind of early to mid intermediate, depending on how you want to call that. But somebody who's been training for, could be the 6 to 8 weeks, so that you're in the really early LP phase. Or I think that eking out the extra 5 pounds and starting to either hurt yourself from applying too much stress, or you could be hurting yourself metabolically by continuing to force body weight on that, when it's not really even adding. I mean, is gaining 20 pounds of body fat worth getting an extra 5 pounds on the bar? I mean, that's a choice each person has to make for themselves, but that is a different version of metabolic suffering that you're probably putting on yourself and effectively stuck. But it's a perception of being stuck because of the identity being fixated on 5 pounds going on the bar. Whereas you could be making progress in other ways, building muscle mass or changing your body composition.
Yeah. Like in the beginning, when you're lifting, I'll say in the first 3 months, if you were to do like 5x5 at 225, that would be probably a big ask at some point. But when you're advanced, you could be able to do 5x5 at 225 2 times a week and able to recover from it, because your ability to handle an increased work capacity has improved tremendously. Even though you are doing like the same amount of weight, similar amount of reps, like you can recover from it because your ability to recover has also improved. But when you're new, you don't have that ability yet. Like there's so many things that you haven't gotten the reps in, so to speak, to improve. But your overall work capacity 3 years into doing the same number on the bar has improved. And I think that's something different, is like just being able to handle a certain amount of weight for a lot of reps in a month is different than what you can handle as a new lifter. So even if it's the same amount of weight on the bar, I'm kind of trying to figure this out as I'm speaking to it, is like train your work capacity the longer you lift. Even if the weight on the bar is exactly the same, you can handle that amount of weight to a much greater extent.
I'm trying to think of a way that I've experienced that where the top end of my strength, my ability to display strength has not gone up, but I consider myself stronger in that regard. So my 1RM squat has not gone up, but I'm doing more reps above 400 pounds right now than I have probably ever.
Yeah.
I might be able to hit a 1RM if I really tried to organize my training to optimize for that. I think I probably will hit a 1RM at some point in the future, but I haven't demonstrated it yet. But my work capacity has gone up. I'm hitting some rep PRs, but it's, not every single week or not even every single month. It's just gradually over time, I'm getting stronger in a somewhat of a different way. But again, going back to my earlier comment, the meaningful action that I'm taking is to continue showing up and doing hard work. And that's because the mental model and the identity I have now is that I enjoy doing those hard sets. And the outcome is getting stronger over a long period of time. That's the output of the work. But the thing that keeps me motivated and taking the meaningful action is that I've adapted my identity to enjoy that process of lifting heavy weights and doing hard sets 3 to 4 times a week. It's just part of who I am now.
Right.
If I were still wrapped around the axle about adding 5 pounds, I would not be enjoying it. I would think that my program wasn't working because there's some weeks that I don't. Some weeks I'm doing the same weight. I'm repeating the same weight, often multiple times over the course of the weeks and months. But then very, very slowly, I'll add a little bit more weight. Like yesterday, I just decided to go for a 5x5 PR by 2.5 kilos. So it's a different mindset, but that's what's really shifted for me. And I mean, it's only taken 15 years
Yeah.
to go from being motivated beyond the 6 to 8 week point by seeing 5 pounds get added to the bar. 15 years later, it's different. I'm still getting a very similar, if not more productive outcome in the long run, because it's also not coming because I just added body weight or ate more calories. It's that I've incorporated a mindset of training that keeps me taking meaningful action over a long period of time.
It allows you to be in a much more open-minded state of mind where, when you do need to make adjustments for traveling or if something's hurting, you can still train and train productively and take action. But if you have this belief, this dogma that you can only do it in a certain way with a certain piece of equipment, you lose a lot of options. You lose a lot of opportunity to progress.
Right. Yeah. I'm taking into account my ability to recover, which I think is the actual bottleneck for driving adaptation, is whether or not I can recover from it. So if I just throw in a bunch of extra variables that weren't part of my training the week before because I'm traveling, I'm not eating normally, I'm not sleeping in the normal place, I'm doing all kinds of other stuff during the day, I'm not in my routine. Shockingly, I can't lift quite as well.
Yeah.
And I'll still try.
Right. Well, I think to wrap this up, I would encourage someone in that short time frame where you can remember when you just got back into it. You just got back in the gym. It might have been last month. Know that there is so many more months ahead of you, and you probably need an ally right now to help you figure out what the next thing you need to do is. Maybe you need to start going to a gym where you have more equipment variety. Maybe you're at a gym now where that you only have a 45-pound bar. You can hardly ever find the 2.5-pound plates. Maybe your variable is going to a gym with the equipment that you need. Maybe you haven't been confident to try squatting and deadlifting and benching and pressing, and maybe that's what you need now. If you have been doing that, maybe you need someone to look at your lifts. If you're feeling like the weights are too heavy and that there's no way you can progress, maybe there's something you can do with your protein and with your nutrition to stabilize it and increase your protein intake. But there is absolutely a way to keep moving forward. And it just might be time for you to get some external resource for you to help you figure out what that is. And that's okay. You can keep going. You should keep going because it's basically unacceptable to stop changing. You can keep changing and you can feel the transformation that strength training will elicit from you. And I think it would be unacceptable to stop if you want to keep going.
Strength is for everyone.
Yep.
Strength is for life.
If you want someone to talk to, do a Barbell Logic experience call. That's literally what we like talking about. We want to hear how your training is going. We want to hear what you're getting stuck on. The call is free. Go to barbelllogic.com/experience and talk to us about your training. That's what we're here for. And then you can tell Andrew that he's not hardcore enough for not adding 5 pounds. We'll pass along the message.
Stay hard.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you here next week.
Bye-bye.